everyone. Today is Christmas Day, and I'm back with my next episode of Revenue Beacon with Prasant. Joining us today is Sairam, a multifaceted leader with a stellar background spanning Signity's strategic realms into angel investing. With a distinguished career that touches upon AI, ML, SaaS, and B2B marketing, Sairam's journey from the prestigious NUS and Bain and Company to the helm of InnoMinds and Core AI is nothing short of inspiring. A member of the esteemed Forbes Communication Council and an influential voice in the digital landscape, I'm eager to dive into deep insights on M&A, corporate development, future of technology-driven business, and how marketing can play a major role in all these. We'll also see his journey through his roles at Hysia Management Council member and Regional Council member at NASSCOM and member of NASSCOM Gen AI Foundry. Thank you for joining me on this lovely Christmas day today, Sairam.
Oh, likewise, I think it has been a fantastic day so far, and thanks for making me come on the show. Thank you.
So, Sairam, let's get started. Can you walk us through your professional journey and the pivotal moments or individuals who shaped your thought process around business and marketing and shaped your career trajectory over these years?
Sure, there have been some phenomenal leaders that I had the opportunity to get first-hand interactions, truly getting inspired by seeing what they have built. I think that has shaped up whatever little that I have come so far. Just to break it into few parts, right? So I'm not a marketeer by design by profession, but it is more by grit and happened with a lot of passion. Hopefully, that's the journey that I've been enjoying. So I'm an engineer. Well, again, I'm not an engineer by qualification, but I do have a postgrad in computer science, and I started just like every other software industry professionals that we are. Wrote a lot of code, tested a lot of software, built them, and had the tremendous opportunity to be a cross-functional guy pretty early in my life, thanks to many leaders and mentors who gave me an opportunity to always try something. And the first and foremost principle that I would love to recollect or share was never to have a fear of failure. I think I used to work in the HCL's Cisco Offshore Center back in 98 to 2004 in Chennai, a hardcore engineering center that built some great piece of software that still powers majority of the Cisco's internetworking operating systems, routers and switches, and extremely complex internetworking software, which is by far some of the best piece of life that I have led. Those young days where I grew up watching a lot of leaders who had the courage to question the status quo, and most importantly, when many software services companies, which was the golden age of the IT birth, right? When shipping people to the US on, application development projects, we sort of built products, truly products, and there was an opportunity for us to sort of be participating in telling the stories to the world, and that's when I sort of developed my first passion towards what can a technology do to solve a complex business problem, and should I stop wearing an engineer's hat or try to sort of modulate that into a story that can probably appeal to a diverse set of audience and hopefully lead into a business dimension sort of thing. So that's the sort of genesis. Then I also had opportunity to work with some seriously successful first generation Silicon Valley based technologists, entrepreneurs who went on to build some from stellar software products and had great success building them. What I learned from them, these are CEOs of global repute. I can tell some names. Jay Pullur, Pramati, Ram Jayam, a company called Apier that went on to get acquired by Citrix. What was common amongst all of these people? And of course, I had the privilege to work with Yogesh Gupta, the erstwhile CTO for Computer Associates, and a bunch of leaders at the HCL's engineering center that I spoke about. What was common amongst all of these leaders was they themselves were master storytellers. They sort of knew what does it mean to actually position a piece of software. They were very clear in terms of disrupting the status quo, They never had a fear, and they always thought beyond the normal realms of what was the norm of the industry. So that sort of caught my DNA, and then that was building a very, very different orientation to what I intended to do. And what was common amongst all of these people were they all came from extremely, extremely simple backgrounds. The only thing that they had was this whole inherent ability to dream big and sort of make India or the Indian software DNA to be product centric much, much, much ahead than when the normal stuff was happening. So that's the whole DNA. I can just go on about it, but what remains it is this inherent ability to think beyond the normal, sort of articulate a lot of confidence and grit, and never have a fear of failure.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is very important in your career when you get to work with visionaries.
Yeah.
Uh, you definitely get some of their thinking shaping your own growth, right?
That's right. And also, this is a cross-functional mix, right? So, and then various software backgrounds. Here was a marquee executive leading $1 billion plus large enterprise software organization. Here was, a startup maverick entrepreneur who was charting new pathways in the world of ASIC, semiconductor, Silicon Valley acquisitions, VC pitches. While these are all day of the normal today, imagine this in 2003 2004. It was very different, and then literally opening up a garage startup, almost opening up the lock of the office every single day, working and understanding what does it actually mean to be in a startup. I joined a startup, Apier, for example, probably 6 months into my marriage. But then if there was a risk to be taken, it was that time, right? So and then learning from them was tremendous. And then imagine a company like Pramati, which I am very, very proud about, built probably one of the first enterprise app server products from India. So it's not about those what they built, but it's about the DNA, the legacy, and to do things out of the normal. And what was common amongst all of these leaders is they never shied away from making you try different things. I was wearing product management hat when I was a QA lead. I did HR, I did marketing, I did a little bit of strategy, I ran large delivery. People still wonder, did you all do this or this? I mean, it can't be cooked up, right? It is what it is. So one, God has been so kind to give diverse opportunities, and leaders have been so kind to make me try out all of this. And as I said, while I did mistakes, lot many, they always encouraged. When I did little good things, they probably gave me a little pat on the back, and I saw them grow, and in the process learned from them.
Great. So let's continue this conversation and move to your experience with leading consulting firm, right? Would you like to share some nuggets from that experience and how it helped shape your perspective as a CMO in the B2B marketing landscape?
Yeah, sure. So this is like a consulting engagement that I did with one of the largest, marquee consulting firms. The role itself was very different. It was an external advisory role. I picked up a lot of analytical, intricacies, the ability to look at large reams of information, data, and present things to a wider set of audience to make a very informed decision. My role was to sort of analyze, wear an analyst hat if I were, to help opportunities that were either on an M&A sort of a thing where someone was evaluating whether a particular company is a good asset to buy, whether a particular company is a good asset to private equity investment. So there was a lot of investor due diligence, investment due diligence, wearing a technology hat. And then naturally, by what when I started doing before I started doing that role, I need to sort of tell that, right? So I spent 5 6 long years at Signity where we built a brand which I wear it on my heart. I'm very passionate about it. A brand from no less than $2 million to $120 million ish in 5 6 years, went on to become a Gartner Magic Quadrant player. The reason I'm saying that is, so it's a public listed company. those experiences and the ones that I spoke before were all put into play when this consulting gig came in, where I participated in about 10 to 15 or maybe 20 deal advisory workshops and engagements, where my role was to see whatever target that was laid before, was it worthy enough? There were few which we knocked off. I made recommendations, and there were few where I'm happy to tell that they went on to become large marquee investments that they later picked up. But as a CMO, I think the most important thing here was putting all of these experiences into play. Why is a particular brand, why is a particular company a leader or a niche player? What sort of positioning that it actually adds up value into the larger scheme of things? And that is where a CMO's role becomes extremely important. It's a strategic role beyond what it is, and the ability to comprehend and understand that from a market perspective and intersect the outside in and the inside in perspectives in terms of the strengths, differentiations, not just from an offering standpoint, brand value proposition, differentiation, whatever asset that we were looking at, was it a leader in the making? Does it have enough market potential to garner, etc.? And then that finally led to this conclusive passion that I now carry in terms of looking at mergers and acquisitions as one of the aspects of the work that I do. So that was a very different experience.
You have been a visionary when it comes to steering company brands for tech trends, and you are very passionate about it. Uh, we have discussed a story about how you played a role in the inception of one of the Magic Quadrant ahead of its time when you were in Signity, right? Your work at Signity, Core.ai, InnoMinds is a public testimony to your ability to spot trends and then steer brands in that direction.
It's actually, chronologically, if you see, I played, this is my second innings at Signity. So there is a tremendous amount of work that we did in the first phase, which is actually the most important brand transformation thing, which I will talk about. And then we could move to what we did at InnoMinds and Core as well. Right. So, as I was telling, the brand, I love this whole adage that I sort of do when I teach classes on a chapter called building challenger brands. So imagine, recollect that old spice ad where there is a guy who's actually rafting in the middle of an ocean, all the odds stacked against, and then he comes out winning. So that was the sort of things when we started Signity back in 2012. And here was and then I also used to show, I continue to show that slide where whenever I talk about brand transformation of what we built, imagine uh, a small chick coming out of the egg, doesn't have any background to it, and then what it actually comes out and becomes is a champion with one single thing, a grit and a steel of nerves. So this was the dimensions of what we did at Signity. We went on to build the world's largest, or one of the largest rather, second, third, first pure play quality engineering company from nowhere. And first time when I actually went to talk to Gartner for signing up a subscription, the Gartner guys were very advisory. They were telling that you're a very, very small company, about 10 million-ish maybe, or 5 million-ish maybe. Do you really think you want to do all of this and you can, but then the vision that we carried was not from 6 months or 1 year. It is about when we were $5 million, we were thinking about $100 million brand. And of course, thanks to the eternal confidence of the leadership and some of the rock star marketing leaders that I have been blessed to work with. Fortunately, I could hire all of them. We went on to create magic, not just in Gartner, but many, many analyst recognitions, Forresters, Nelson Halls, IDCs, and Everests, and including Forbes. But what was common in amongst all of this is transforming the brand, putting the brand at the center of it, what I call a 360-degree marketing approach to building challenger brands, and eventually leading up to a fact that it becomes a viable alternative to global leaders. So I think the spirit carried that whole thing. Messaging played a great role in that, and the tenets of the brand, when I look back and see what it is, very, very proud. And then of course we will talk about the second phase of the brand transformation, from pivoting it up until there. So that's the foundation thing. And then all of this in a public limited company, with investor spotlight and everything in the glare of the media. Imagine the first press release when we went, none of the vernacular medias carried it to a state where a Wall Street Journal to New York Times started chronicling it. I think that's a transformation that we are talking about, and that's a result of hundreds of man hours of toil with passion and eternal optimism. And as I said, thanks to the wonderful marketing teams and leaders that were part of this whole journey. And I want to also tell one thing here. The pitch that I used to give to them was again inspiration to what Steve Jobs actually did to one of those execs when he said that, do you want to sell sugar water or come and change the world? So in my own little, canvas, I used to call people from, I had leaders from all the time, Infosys, TCS, HCL, Wipro. These were guys who were already running big marketing teams and stuff. So I used to tell them that, do you want to continue working in the cushion of a brand that's already established, or come and create something which can disrupt them at one single day? And that sort of resonated with them, thanks to them. And today, of course, on a lighter note, my marketing leaders are actually running very, very, very large companies, either as CMOs or entrepreneurs, or even industry analysts, but we are all one family. And that is the transformation I'm talking about. It's human capital transformation, it's talent transformation, and it's that innate ability to believe that something that was not conceived in normal lines of the book, which I said was what I learned from the leaders I worked, is actually put into action. And all this by a team which didn't have any conventional backgrounds in doing that. We sort of drew best practices from all over the world. We created our own marketing playbook, and I can go on about it. So that's the first phase of Signity journey, and my foundational role play to sort of build a brand that is iconic in its nature. Now maybe we could go to the other parts of it, Prashant. I hope I just gave that chronology right.
No, this definitely helps. So let us probably come to the next part, which was core.ai,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's right.
The name itself has AI in it, and in 2023, it is like a household name.
Yeah,
Many people have already heard about chat GPTs and they've heard about AI.
right,
But talking about core.ai many years before, right?
right.
So how was that journey like? AI in those days when it was like very niche subject handled by few people,
Yeah.
and the core.ai brand that time.
Yeah,
So
so as I said, right, firstly, I would like to thank one other inspiring CEO, entrepreneur of, absolutely world-class pedigree, Mr. Raj Konero, who actually, gave me an opportunity to join him and work. That's so the thanks to him. The second part was I was at the peak of my comfort zone at Signity in my first innings, really peak of it. And then I had a mentor, who's unfortunately no more, who also happens to be one of the strong leaders at Signity. I went up to him and said, look, I get excited by technology. I'll have to probably go do something out to quench my thirst for learning. And of course, as a computer science postgrad, I sort of always had this fascination on how intelligence with machines can make magic, right? Which is what we are told and taught when we do advanced compilers and natural language processing. So the AI was just getting to be mainstream, though it always existed since the first Turing test, as we all knew. And I didn't want to go and join some mediocre stuff, right? So I wanted to really work with someone who actually knows a thing or two about it, and who's probably, the best. And then imagine for 2 years, I always tell it was like running 100 meters dash with a Carl Lewis every single day. So core.ai's 2 years was for me was like that. And then here was a leader who was actually, he had earlier built companies like Coney, which were Gartner Forrester leaders in the mobile application development platforms. And Raj was known to do things which were phenomenally advanced. And by the time I went to core, he was redefining conversational AI from initially building to a conversational messenger sort of a platform, which was on the likes of Slack and everything. He was repositioning it and pivoting it to a developer platform for enterprise conversational AI, chatbots, and virtual assistants. These are not meek chatbots at college stuff, right? These are enterprise chatbots, and he was talking about bot stores when App Store was mainstream. So that was very inspirational for me to have picked up that. And of course, it was also in my own interest that I always sort of thought ahead of the game. Sometimes being too ahead is also not so helpful. But then here was a technology that was getting shaped up, and the next 2 years was all learning. And I sort of had so much of unlearning, bootstrapping myself back from the services hat that I had into product hat again. I was alternating always between services and product companies, and then product marketing, messaging, technical product marketing, developer evangelism, building teams from the ground up that can actually do real class, enterprise class marketing. And some of the leaders that I hired still continue to work at Core. And I also happen to work with some finest AI architects, chief technology officer, a good friend of mine who is the CTO at Core now. But what I want to draw now here is some of the use cases that I had an opportunity to imagine, and then we laid the foundation for Core's undisputed journey. While Core is now a Gartner acknowledged, a Gartner recognized leader, the foundations were certainly laid in the 2 odd years that I had an opportunity to work, and some marquee analyst recognitions came in. And I'm glad that I played a little role in a stellar journey that Core is continuing to make. But if there was one person who gained out of all of this, it was myself, because I learned a lot of AI that I can probably say that it was one of the best decisions that I made. And also the most what I said, it's very, 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 very what do you say, energy sapping, but unimaginable work. I again repeat, it's like running 100 meters dash with Carl Lewis every single day, because you're working with someone who is always 2 steps ahead of your thought process. And thanks to Raj for whatever learning that I got. And then I took a break from there, because I was really, really sapped out of my physical energy. If not anything, I wish I was more fitter, probably to have continued it. But when I look back, absolutely great stuff. And it's like going to a county, if you know cricket, right? You sometimes take a county opportunity, go there, play for a couple of years in all swinging conditions, get your ranks right, and come back and start scoring more centuries and prepare yourself for the next. So that is exactly what I did at Core. And it so happens that that foundation is now leading up to generative AI, enterprise conversational AI, and so on and so forth, where I'm far more comfortable.
We share one common thing, which is technical turned marketeer.
Yeah.
And you are very academic style of marketeer who does the hard work, goes through reams of information. Uh, but then is there a playbook to finding trends? Because if you look at Gartner hype cycle, it's all sort of things running around, and still you have done it multiple times to spot
Right.
that trend,
Right.
which will actually shape the future of technology for enterprises. So if somebody wants to grow in that direction, right? Obviously, the hard work is definitely required, but any kind of playbook, any
Yeah.
suggestions to people?
I think I'll relate it. Two things I want to also sort of clarify. While I do agree that there is a lot of academic realm in my approach, one thing I would also attribute, so there is this natural flair and a little bit of in the DNA for me to actually come out with quirky. I'm fairly comfortable and I enjoy doing messaging, content, and some of this. But then what I'm trying to tell is these are, inbuilt things that you grow up with in your formative years of education. The second thing is, I'll tell you something very interesting. I never wanted to be in the field of technology. I was a civil services aspirant, right?
Okay.
So why I'm telling that is that actually gave me this whole, intricate approach to read and consume information at reams. When you go for civil services exam in India, which is probably by far, in my opinion, the most difficult exam in the world. So you sort of tend to consume a lot of information. So I think that continued in my streak. Coming back to your question, I think the only way for that is to continuously read, comprehend, and look at technology trends from a hands-on view. And that's where I think being an engineer helps. See, for example, I worked in wireless technologies, voice over IP, cable technologies, cable modem, and a lot of wireless security, identity management, enterprise collaboration. So it so happened that I think it all aligned in such a way that every new passing technology, or every new emerging technology rather, there was some exposure to that. And again, I thank some of those visionary entrepreneurs that I had the opportunity to work. So this intricate ability to sort of consistently outthink my own normal line of growth, right? So, we've been 25 years in the industry, close to a lot of good friends, obviously some of them would have gone through linear careers, so what I call is a horizontal employable quotient, where I try to see that can I move across functions, cutting
Mm.
through inside an organization. That's one playbook that I adopted. I never shied away from, imagine, a postgrad in computer science with hardcore technology, couple of patents exposure, going and running HR. But
Yeah.
then my logic was, a HR for a very, very seminal technology organization should have more technology orientation than anyone if you have to attract talent. If you want to go to an IIT and make a campus placement pitch, you're talking to geeks in the making. In my opinion, you need to have an understanding of what a tech guy would. So I think that's the sort of playbook. And then, of course, it's this natural interest towards read, consume, apply information. I think all of that sort of made this playbook of my own, which still helps. Yeah, that's about it. Neither it is special, nor it is, but I can certainly say it's a little unique. But yeah, it's worked for me, and hopefully it adds some value. But as you rightly said, one thing, you just have to be at it, persistently working at it. And yeah, we are in the technology world. I also said that I'm not marketing an Asian Paints or a Hindustan Unilever, right? So we are in the world of technology, in B2B technology. In that case, you have to be closer to technology if you have to market it. I think that's the single mantra that I would probably recall.
Yeah, I mean, if I recap, right, you talked about very simple one line: read, consume, and apply. So probably your read and consume came from your civil
Yeah,
services.
yeah,
The apply part came from engineering, and when you
yeah,
combine these three,
yeah.
the started happening, right?
That's right. Yeah,
So, Saira, moving to my next question, right? You're a global CMO for Signity, and you're based out of India, and you have been running very successful marketing function, even in the first stint as well as in the second stint when you're back at Signity. So, how do you see this coming along? Because Signity has built a lot of business in the US market.
right.
Uh, and normally we say that business functions like CMO or chief sales should be in that geography to be able to grow. But you have done it from India very
Right.
successfully.
Right.
I feel that this will be a different piece of information for listeners to kind of understand and imbibe that how to make it happen.
Yeah, surely. I think I also would like to interject a little before what I did right after core, before coming to Signity. There is a little stint that I did with Inner Minds. It actually is very important to talk what I'm doing at Signity right now, and also this question. See, I think to going back after I did this conversational AI thing, I've always been, as I said, spotting this technology trends, the digital product engineering, which is a near $700 billion market, that caught the imagination of my own self when I was invited to an investor roadshow in Mumbai, where someone asked me to come and speak independently about the whole convolution of digital product engineering, ER&D, and AI analytics, and the whole shaping the way how outsourced product engineering can be a next realm of work. We have many success stories to draw inspiration from. So that sort of attracted me when I looked at Inner Minds, and then we repositioned this company to be an enterprise brand, while it was known for its marquee innovation in terms of being an authorized Qualcomm Engineering Innovation Center. Some of the original hardware device engineering work that have been done at a size of its from India, a company that built literally the first 3G powered education tablet, a company that powered millions of lines of code on Qualcomm chipsets, a company that wrote a true world class work for some of the largest ISVs in the world. So I had this opportunity to transform that from being an ISV centric company to an enterprise centric. And then we came out with a positioning statement of powering the digital next. And it so happened that entire association of my with the company was during the phase of COVID. It was exactly 2 years and a month. But then it was a phenomenal amount of, imagine three overlapping circles: devices, apps, analytics, right? So devices is all about IoT, ER&D, engineering. Apps is about building software, cloud native products and applications. And then, this whole entire AI powered cognitive. So what we used to call a chip to cloud to cognition. So with that sort of a foundation, and of course, thanks again to the leadership there, I had this phenomenal opportunity to work with some very, very fine engineering minds in repositioning this company and successfully. Why I'm talking about that is, and that's when Signity has always been closest to my heart, because that's a brand that I literally lived my dream. So when I had to come back second time, here was an opportunity to see that the world's second largest pure play quality engineering company envisioned itself to be a $1 billion organization and was working backwards to see what could be the market dynamics that it needs to do apart from leading the world in the world of testing. So that is where the experience of core, where I literally looked at what AI first enterprise can be, plus the digital product engineering dimension of InnerMinds together led to a conclusive expertise and experience that I could go back and apply. And in 9 months of rejoining the company, we repositioned it from being a testing only, quality engineering only company to what we call a quality first digital engineering company. And then 18, 20 months now into the second innings, now I'm extremely proud to tell that the entire analyst fraternity, who always positioned Signity as a testing services company of global parlance and leadership, now says that we are a contender, challenger, emerging star in the world of digital product engineering, as much as continuing the bolstered leadership that we have in the world of quality engineering. So here was an opportunity to relay the canvas, a brand that was so close to my heart, which continues to be. But then I had to unshackle myself so that it's no more a testing services company. And there again, the understanding of market, because of the convolution of forces, agile and DevOps leading to a redefined way of how testing has to be done in a digital first world, in an automation first world. I think that is where this entire brand transformation happened. So I'll just give you a very simple example. We let go of this tagline that we had for Signity called software quality assured. It might look pretty normal right now, but then imagine 12 years of legacy that the brand is tied up with 4,000 passionate quality engineering professionals who breathe software testing, but nothing else, had to be sort of brought onto the same canvas and said that quality is not going anywhere because it's ingrained in everything that we do. And then going and working with 80 of the Fortune 2000 companies, and then telling them that here is what we are here for, coming with an approach of saying that quality is ingrained as much as it is, quality is first, but we are now in the world of digital, the world of AI, world of application development and cloud native. So that's the whole baggage, right? So I had to carry. Now I'll answer your question, right? Doing it all from here, I think, see, this is the third time, right? So first time at Signity, then at Core, then at InnerMinds, now again at Signity. As I said, we work with a global charter. Again, thanks to this whole connected enterprise that we all live with. The playbook that we've always crafted was, brand transformation, marketing-led positioning. Truly, today Signity is a brand across 25 countries, and so is the couple of other companies that I manage, which are truly global, can actually be orchestrated by being closest that you can without being physically in the land of being it's sold. So I think, in fact, it's just not marketing, right? I am co-responsible for our investor outreach, investor communication. I work on certain elements of our mergers, acquisitions, and corporate development. So all of this is possible because the conviction of our chairman, our chief executive officer, and the global leadership that this can be done. Number one. The second thing is the entire function, everything is done, managed, as I say in some of the things that I talk about, excluding a annual report sprint shop job. We actually do everything in-house. My designers, we don't outsource to agencies, very, very least. While I respect that model of work, it has always been, can we do it all by ourselves? So content, digital, social, corporate social responsibility, account-based marketing, and all the 24 frames that you have in a movie, like what 360-degree facet of marketing is actually run, designed, conceived, managed. And of course, my leaders and my team colleagues have traveled to distant parts of the world. We'd have managed about 100 plus events. We've had our own flagship events that we have done. We've met analysts world over. As a friend, that I spend a lot of time meeting them. And then thanks to the complementary nature of our sales leadership, the structures that we have, I must acknowledge that, right? So we feed into them, and then we've always been there. And then some of the marquee logos, some of the largest, and then not only that, over the last 7, 8, 9 years of overall my association with Signity, both when I'm working and I was outside, including my some of the teams that we've been significant contributors to the pipeline and demand gen and the inbound aspects of the largest logos that the company has actually ever won, both servicing the net new as well as the existing. So all this culminates to two pieces, Prashant. I look at what I call creating long-term sustainable mind share through a set of brand marketing, market leading activities which are long-term in nature, and then creating immediate interventions into wallet share through tactical operational demand gen activities of various natures. When you put both these together and deliver a return on marketing investment of about 5 times on a consistent basis, I think that this is a playbook that is reasonably good, that can be adopted and applied. Of course, as we continue to scale, interventions have to be brought in, and some of the things that larger companies have continued to do can be learned from. But I believe that we are actually having a scale right now. We are north of $200 million in revenue and close to 225, $250 million in run rate, which is about a $250 million company. But the foundations that we have created for a marketing organization, thanks to my leaders and their experience and their craft, we are certainly capable of servicing this it up to another $200 million of revenue growth. So I think that's the whole journey. And of course, we learn from peers. And then we've also had great exposures to some of the finest global sales leadership practices that people bring in. We sort of learn that. But I have a firm belief that in today's world, if not any time else, it is the age of a marketing led growth, and that can be done from anywhere, as long as the narrative is in control, as long as you understand the dimension of the customers and you understand the value proposition and message it accordingly. I know it's a long answer that I gave, but this is what it is. This is a self-built playbook. So I just thought I'll go deeper talking about it.
So definitely it deserves a longer answer, because this is something which you don't see day in, day out, right?
Correct.
And you have perfected that art with your thinking, with your in-depth planning, creating the right structures within marketing, and aligning them with, like you said, with sales, and you
Yeah.
yourself, right, a lot to meet analysts. So giving everybody confidence that yes, this will work, while preparing internally, working, probably, if I can use analogy, working like a duck, very hard inside the water, keeping calm on the outside, and making all these things successful, right?
Yeah, then on a lighter note, right, we call this ADAT. So it's like be local, think global, right? So that's the DNA. That's the DNA. And the other thing is, when there is a need and an opportunity, we've always crossed the Atlantic or any ocean as many times as we should, and sort of took the story. It's just not sales only. It's about sales organization, IP innovation, pre-sales, delivery leadership. And as I said, we are a public limited company, right, including to our investor communication, to investor outreach, to positioning the company, whether it's a conference call with a DII or an FII or a mutual fund house or anyone else who's inquisitive about the company's growth prospects. I think there is this intersection of market potential, positioning, market trends, and understanding of why we are very different. I think that is what is the secret sauce of truly building a global brand marketing organization that is multifunctional, multicultural, and 360 degrees. Lastly, I would also like to say that we are also responsible as marketing organization to co-lead our sustainability and corporate social responsibility initiatives, which has created stirring impact on some of the largest customers we have. So it is not about executing it transactionally. It is about tying it back to the vision and mission of the company, the values of the organization, why we think, for example, we work in education, healthcare, and sustainability, tying it back to the purposefulness of the brand, right? You know what is the purposeful marketing is all about, and creating that larger than life societal impact, which goes back to employee engagement, which goes back to the founder's vision, which goes back to our responsibility towards society as a public limited company. So all of this, comes in, and then, in my opinion, being closest to the corporate, which we are from India, and then working in this multicultural environment with seamless integration with our global leadership, sales leadership teams, which are spread across US, UK, and everywhere else, and then being part of the leadership, and then have this foundational understanding of the brand's DNA makes it all work.
Let's move to the next segment. A CMO needs to be as much in the market as much the person needs to be inside the organization.
That's
This
right.
is a hybrid role. You cannot just focus inside and you cannot just focus outside. You have to create a balance of it.
Correct.
So, and that could be a theme for our next 4 or 5 questions about Forbes communication, about Hysia, about Project Drona, startup investment boutique, and then the criteria for selecting. So it's like it balances your
Yeah,
keyword as well as your focus.
I think, see, at the end of the day, right, as they say, we have a day job to do. But
Uh,
then, I'll draw back the parallel to the civil services preparation. In my
mm,
opinion, CMO's role is the most misunderstood role from a lot of perspectives. But I'll tell you what, it gives you the best panoramic view of everything that you could ever attempt to do than any other role in the company. So that, in a way, ties back to a particular personality of an every individual. So we are born storytellers, we are born hustlers, we're born networkers, and we are also born brand builders, which has to be for a longer term and a purposefulness in it, a sustainable brand. So now, if I go back to whatever you asked, see, as a part of marketing's outreach activities, right? If there is one person in the organization who can be an interface to a government, to a policy body, to an industry association, to a lot of NGOs. Of course, we spoke a lot about investor outreach, and that naturally comes back to a SCMO, in my opinion. And again, thanks to my organizational belief that I can go out and represent the company in multivarious platforms. And that's where I think whether Hysia, which is someone that I'm very, very strongly associated, it's an industry body, 30-year industry body, consisting of more than 400 IT companies in Hyderabad. It has its legacy as good, as old, and as stellar as NASCOM, while it continued to focus on what it does. So, for example, there I run an initiative called Project Drona. Project Drona is an education initiative, one of the 4 pillars of ICA's charter, where everyone said that this industry academia interaction from a student's perspective is very, very important, right? That hundreds of programs that many companies run. I thought that I will do a little impact towards engineering college faculty, who are very, very important to be reskilled, upskilled. So Drona was born out of that thought process. It's a 6 to 8 week program. The first cohort is graduated. More than 700 engineering colleges get positively impacted. Imagine a Coursera sort of a platform, thanks to partnerships with Infosys, Telangana Academy of Skill and Knowledge. So as they say, when you intend to do some good work, stars align by themselves. They come and provide this world-class content. Imagine a tier 3 town in Telangana, an engineering college lecturer getting upskilled in digital transformation, AI, ML, Python, and with capstone project, an industry immersion, the never of its kind, first of its kind, where these faculty were bought into an IT services company, into product companies, expose them into intricacies of what actually happens. So this is the side of intervention that we built. And then, it ties back to what my foundational sustainability charter at Signity is, where we work on education, right? So that's where what am I doing there? In the process, I'm actually creating a lot of brand mind share for Signity, because I represent Signity by doing that. Some of my team members support me. They're getting engaged. They're getting newer vistas of exposure. I'm getting heavily networked. I represent both my organization as well as a body like ICIA in a conglomeration of platforms all the way to the national government level. So that's one dimension. The other dimension is to intricately keep yourself grounded and be connected to what's happening on an innovation landscape. So that's where personally, even at Signity, I have this role dimension where I sort of help oversee, orchestrate some of the startup investments that Signity is continuing to do, because we all know that this is an age of co-creation. So that's where, outside the realm of what I do at Signity, I have with two of my product colleagues at Core, we set up the small investment boutique fund, if I were to call it, where we have a vision of doing startup investments. When we started in 2018 with a vision that we'll do 25 startups by 2025. So when I say we do, we sort of invest in that. And then obviously these are EV, deep tech, enterprise SaaS, consumer SaaS, and so on and so forth. We have our own playbook. But keeping the financial part away, we might not, we've done any small investments into, we're not like a very large early stage seed fund. Without going into the amount, but what we have learned in that process is, imagine talking to 100, 200, 300 technology entrepreneurs, shortlisting, picking our own thesis. One of two of them have had glorious runs. We also have one or two of them shutting the doors, but we now know what does go into an entrepreneur's mind. And I am a marketer. We have a product management guy. We have a technologist, technology marketer, an entrepreneur in this whole three people team that we have. So we can provide little that we know in this corporate experience as mentorship to these startups. And then imagine working with these founders and learning from them. And all of that knowledge actually goes back to the day's job as well. So that is where your ability to sort of stay grounded, learn from the newer vistas of innovation that is actually happening, so that sometimes you get stuck in this corporate myopia that I call, where you think that you sit in that well and think that everything there is all big. No, there's so much of stuff that's happening outside. The best way to do, going back to our original genesis, consume, create, and do whatever, right? That's what I said. So if I know that EV is the next big thing, if I have an opportunity to invest in an EV mobility company, in a deep tech SaaS company, I would rather do it. If the financial gains happen, that's great. But can I actually walk through that founder's vision? What is the problem that he's actually trying to solve? Because at the end of the day, as a technology marketer, if that's a newer dimension of messaging, positioning that I can learn from and apply, that will be the biggest learning. So that's the whole thinking, right? And so is the case. I'm now associated with NASSCOM's regional council as well. And then Forbes, of course, that's more extension to the professional work. We all know it is a great platform. So I'm part of the Forbes Communication Council, where obviously as a CMO there, I wear more Signity hat than any, and then sort of try to understand message and communicate and so on and so forth. These are things that I do outside, or co-curricular and extracurricular, if I have to draw a school parallel.
Yeah. And I was just going through while you were talking about this, you have created a positive feedback loop where everything comes back into your original day job, and then day job feeds back into your outside objectives, right? And this is an interesting thing. I mean, for any CMO, it is important to understand. Any CMO or any aspiring CMO, you need to manage both internal as well as external.
Yeah, I mean, that also gives us this opportunity to be differentiated. You create a value proposition for your own self as a person, so that everyone in the organization understands that. It's like, I'm a great cricket fan. So when Jonty Rhodes was doing, right, they used to say he's already plus 20 on the field, right? He doesn't need to bat sometimes. He would have saved more runs than what he would score. So as a CMO, if I can bring these diverse aspects, I'm actually contributing and making myself more and more intrinsic part of an organization's growth strategy, growth curve. And that's when the leadership leans upon you as someone that can be trusted, and you become one of those core members of that eventual value creation curve. Otherwise you end up becoming very transactional.
Yeah, that's the right word. A CMO cannot be transactional. If you have big
Yeah,
aspirations,
yeah,
you have to be part of the core. And I
that's right.
remember in one of the classes, one of the last class of marketing at IIM Ahmedabad, the professor asked us, "What is strategy?"
Mm,
and drew a circle of strategy, and then he started creating spokes of different things which are called strategy. And when the wheel was created, he simply erased the strategy and replaced it with marketing, and then said that marketing is a tangible form of strategy which you can see.
absolutely. And you touched something that I wanted to end up this with from that side. So that's the reason why now I'm also doing this interesting program, a Chief Strategy Officer program at National University of Singapore. While one, obviously, it is again to make myself come out of the comfort zone and learn something new. But I believe that a well thought through decision making process, when you're a CMO, a natural extension to co-own strategy is more a marketer's right than anyone else's, because you have all the foundational elements to actually work and define that. And that is very, very important. And it's a natural extension, which goes back to your IMA exposure as well.
Absolutely. So it has been a great conversation, but there is one topic which is very close to my heart, and you have been doing it practically, right? If you talk to school students, if you talk to college students, right, they are more confused than ever in the past probably 30 years, because the AI has disrupted learning completely. Assignments have lost value. You don't know which way to go. You don't know how to shape your how to secure your post academic career, right? So how do you see this whole thing shaping up from that career perspective? And we can also talk about business aspirations that entrepreneurs might have. So this whole AI piece, how do you see it unfolding, and how should people prepare for this?
I think the AI is here to stay. It is more an AI first than ever before. But I slightly differ from what you. I know the spirit with which you asked the question. I think the generation now is far more clear, and they have a lot of clarity in terms of what they wish to do. But what they're getting confused is the plethora of options that are available for a single point thing, which is where I think a little experience comes in. But see, today morning, I think yesterday, I was reading this. The co-founder of DeepMind .ai, the Google company, says that Gen AI is just one thing. It's a beginning. The next thing is called interactive AI. So I
Yeah.
think this whole thing is going to increasingly get more mature. Even in fact, with Gen AI, right? In my opinion, the cost of compute has to significantly come down. Short language models, tiny language models will speak the future. Not necessarily need to have trillions of parameters. You can have smaller $5 to $7 billion of parameters in an SLM and solve interesting things. But what I'm coming back to tell is the three things that are getting unchanged, irrespective of whatever AI does. It is still a machine that you have programmed or you're allowed to program. So you hold the narrative. So that's not going to change. But Gen AI, by definition itself, says human in the loop, and which means that there is a lot more for the human to actually be part of the whole thing. It's a fairly successful artificial intelligence initiative or a program, whatever we call, in my opinion, has to be assistive. It is assistive intelligence, it is augmentative intelligence. Hence it opens up variety of options. As research shows, every time a new disruption comes, more new jobs created than actually taken away, which is time and again proven. And in my little opinion, what I also think is the intersection of art, cognition, and science will become mainstay than ever before, because the art of possibilities with AI, you know, naturally makes you ask more why, which is WHY, the questions, and hence explorers will be at the peak of it, which also means that art becomes the mainstay, cognition becomes the mainstay, which also means that I wish I was born in this age so that we could do newer, more things. So I'm an eternal optimist, and I think it's a new tool at hand. But as we all know, we have to be responsible, and I think that's where corporates, researchers, academia, government, to all come together so that the world is also saved from the downside of deepfake.
Yeah. So that is where we also see this STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and
Yeah,
math. getting augmented and being called STEAM, which includes arts.
Exactly. What the STEM did for our generation, I mean, it's still that's the strength of Indian IT thing. I think art will become the mainstay because the possibilities are endlessly different and it's going to throw up. But as marketeers, now let me just throw one dimension at the end of the day. The narrative is still with the human. I just posted something on the LinkedIn which showed a 1990 Microsoft Excel ad, which shows how creative, how
Mm.
crafty the communication was. So the narrative is still with the human. The culture is still with the human. You can't go to a chat GPT engine and say, define a culture for the organization. And then once you define the culture, that's where the purposefulness of the brand comes in. But what it does is, as we all know, I don't want to re-talk about what Gen AI does. It can allow things, democratization of content at scale, hyper personalization at scale, which means that you have unimaginable possibilities if you are an intelligent marketeer. But what goes without telling is the narrative is still with the human, and that throws up newer opportunities with a gorilla of a tool that we have at hand now.
Absolutely. The future is exciting, and there are enough reasons to be optimistic because anytime the world has gotten into fear, it has come out stronger.
That's right. That's right.
Sairam, in your 2.0 role as CMO at Signity, global position anchored in India, how strategically do you synchronize companies' marketing initiatives with this M&A endeavors and corporate development objectives?
Sure. As I was alluding, right? So it's a natural extension, for a chief marketing officer to sort of play a pivotal role in looking at what we call the long-term ambitions of the company. So we call it the long-term digital ambitions of the organization. First and foremost, I wish to express my gratitude and thanks to the management and leadership of Signity for bestowing me with this unique responsibility. And as we rechristened ourselves to lead into the what we call leapfrogging to the digital orbit, that's the endeavor that we set out to be $1 billion organization. We drew a plan to sort of pivot into unique areas of digital engineering without letting go of the core competency of Signity. So that's where I think my understanding of the brand, the company, its DNA, its culture, its evolution, and its path ahead gave me this unique opportunity. And we defined a playbook where we are looking at three intersecting areas of digital engineering. When we define the playbook, it is AI, analytics, and data engineering, intersecting with software products and platform engineering, and the third dimension being the Internet of Things and ER&D. So these are the broad spectrum, which is obviously the whole spectrum of digital engineering. And then we picked up each of them. So thankfully, in 2022, we acquired a company called Round Square, where I significantly played a part along with our leadership, of course, from end to end in terms of identifying the organization. And then that's where I think the CMO's role became very relevant. Imagine going to a boutique digital engineering startup company and then sort of helping them understand why Signity, why should they consider Signity. Let me tell you, they were having two, three, four large mid-size IT services companies behind them with term sheets. So I think that's where the brand value proposition, the art of storytelling, and the human personal relationship that we carried with the founders of the organization sort of helped me with about 2 3 months of conversations, made them. It's all matchmaking, right? M&A is matchmaking, so it's not speed dating. It's matchmaking, and it's for a long-term sustainable relationship. So thankfully, it fell in place, and then we sort of, and then that's where I think the integration. I'm not talking about the human capital integration, right? That is a HR leader's well-defined responsibility. Brand integration, positioning integration, crafting a unique messaging without changing anything overnight, and then taking it to the market and about 18 months of time. And also sort of then this particular company, it had its own IP. So you need to understand the dynamics of integration points. Again, I repeat, integration. A lot of people think M&A integration is about human capital integration, which is a significant piece. I'm talking about brand integration, positioning, strategic integration. So that's the role that I play. So it was a successful acquisition. Now Signity, as I repeated, we are a force in the digital engineering world. And my charter now is to also look out for acquisitions at substantially larger size. So one done, I think that gave me a lot of learnings, and now the journey begins. So we are looking at a phenomenally transformative approach to do, larger acquisitions in the digital product engineering, and then followed by IoT and ER&D. And then it also doesn't stop there. It's also about talking to the leaders post acquisition, helping them embrace what is the brand value proposition, why Signity, is a force that everyone needs to take a note about. So that's my work. On a corporate development work, though we haven't named it, we have a certain initiatives where we are investing in interesting startups. It could be in the areas of 5G, it could be in the areas of low code platforms, it could be in the area of conversational AI led, use case specific HR automation platform, etc. So we have made, or we are in the process of rather making some interesting investments, small size ticket sizes, if you were to loosely call it sort of a corporate venture capital structure. So I have been allowed to work upon such initiatives, and I'm reasonably confident and successful that some of them have starting to pay off, and it's a long journey ahead, and for which I have a unique team that is part of my extended CMO's organization. So again, to sum it up, it's you have the entire brand value proposition 24/7 365 custodianship of the brand. You have the entire responsibility of investor outreach, investor communication. These are the extended dimension of CMO's office. And the third interesting dimension is this overlapping strategy, corporate development, startup ecosystem building. Well, again, see, the prior experience of building alliances, partnership as a CMO's office will actually allow you to play a distinguished role here, because at the end of the day, it's about exploring complementary synergies that can add value at a long-term basis, whether it's a new startup that you want to acquire, a new startup that you want to invest. In fact, now Signity is part of NASSCOM's GenAI Foundry. So we are working with very, very interesting GenAI focused startups as part of the NASSCOM ecosystem. Whether we invest in them, whether we acquire in them, whether we partner, all options are always on the table. But what I'm trying to tell is these are natural extensions. And that is why I want to end this conversation with this profound statement I like to make. Chief marketing officers by nature are the custodians of strategy and growth, and they form a pivotal part for CEO's office to help maintain, manage, and lead long-term growth by being an integral part of the global leadership for any B2B software product and services organization, because that's the domain at least I work in.
That's great. That's great. You are actually really living how CMO's role should be. Like it's not just about creating sales assets, managing social media, managing demand gen. It is actually much more than that. All those things are just one part of marketing.
Correct.
But there is a well-rounded spectrum that the good CMO should always about.
I mean, that's why I didn't go deeper into that. That is well defined. I went, the craft of the entire 360 degree of a CMO's office is well defined, and that is something we have to anyway own. But these are the extended role dimensions, in my opinion, which are natural fitments to a CMO's role strategically, and we need to have the wherewithal to sort of work in that. And personally, I'm equipping myself by enrolling to this Chief Strategy Officer program at the NUS, where I have had very good exposure and interactions. But as I always believed, there is a word in Sanskrit/Telugu called Shruta Pandityam. You learn a lot by hearing and observing rather than just getting tutoring. So it's by baptism by fire, and do it and then learn it. So I again thank my leadership, my organization, for giving me yet another opportunity, which is not linear to my actual line of career, and allowing me to work and enjoy. And thanks to my teams for supporting me. And thanks for you for having me on the show.
It's great, Sairam. It's always great talking to you. And now, hopefully, that many people will get to learn from how you have shaped your career over the last 2.5 decades. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, lovely, and have a good day ahead. Thank you.
So it's a great pleasure having you with me today, Sairam, on Revenue Beacon with Prashant. And I'm sure people who watch these videos will have a lot to take away. So thank you for sharing your knowledge, wisdom that is acquired over the years, practical insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing me on the show. And I thoroughly enjoyed. I look forward for the recording, and hopefully it would have come well. But have a great Christmas, fantastic holidays, happy holidays, and a lovely New Year ahead. And your show should enthrall the audience in 2024 and many years to come.
Thank you so much, Sairam. Thank you for the wishes.
Bye bye. Bye. Thank you.